What's up, you amazing people? How's everybody doing today? Hopefully, you guys are doing great. We're going to start learning Python, which is awesome. I'm really psyched about this. For the next maybe 3 weeks, I'll be putting classes online. Um, 6 different classes online. You'll be able to watch these videos, and then I'll have work for you to do based off those videos. And when we meet during class time, we'll be able to go through that work together as a team. So your homework for my classes, for the computer science classes, are going to be watching these videos at minimum. And then if you want to take a shot at some of the activities, it's only going to make it better. So we fully encourage you to do that. But you should definitely be watching these videos. So we're going to start using Python. I'm going to run you through what Python is, and then we're going to install something called Anaconda, which is kind of a suite, a bunch of different programs that allow you to use Python in different ways. So let's get started. First, you guys already know some programming languages. I want to make this clear. And we've used these programming languages throughout your education so that you guys can learn more about the fundamentals of programming and understanding how computers think. Depending on how long you've been with me or with other teachers, I think there's some other teachers that have taught this too. Some of these you might be very familiar with. Some of these you're like, oh, I didn't get it. It's okay. It's okay if you didn't get some of these. It won't mess up your ability to use Python. But let's just go through these. Remember this bad boy? Scratch. Scratch, a lot of you guys, I taught you guys Scratch in 7th grade. Some of you guys I taught in 8th grade, maybe. So Scratch, that's a programming language. It's valid. You can use Scratch to create things. There's not a lot of jobs out there saying that you need to know Scratch. Scratch is more of like an educational suite. We then moved on to MIT App Inventor, and that allows you to program for Android tablets using more block-based stuff too. Same deal. It's mainly used for education. There's not a lot of jobs out there. People being like, "Oh, I'm looking for somebody who's really good at MIT App Inventor." People need to know a little bit more than this, or maybe more in-depth languages than this, than MIT App Inventor, to get a job. Then we got into, remember this pencil code, and we learned this thing called CoffeeScript. This is when we're starting to dance in the area of jobs, right? There are jobs out there that use CoffeeScript. There's not a ton of them. It's a pretty entry-level language, but you got your first familiarity with typing code if you did this with me. And then in game design, we did blueprints, right? And blueprints, there are jobs out there. If you get really, really good at using blueprints, there are jobs out there. There's not a ton. And the reason there's not a ton is because blueprints is only used in Unreal. So you're going to have to find a company that's building things in Unreal. So it's only a few companies, not just a few companies, but there's there's only a subsect of companies that will use only Unreal. So we're moving on now to programming languages that actually have industry weight. And there's three main ones. There's a bunch of others, but there's three main ones that I'm going to focus on here in this lecture because they're the three main ones that I'm hearing about the most right now, with the most amount of jobs, the most amount of demand out there. So the first one is Python. Python, if you learn, think about this as like a language in terms of how to speak, right? If you learn Python, you get very, very good at Python. You can branch into programming machine learning, which is like the stuff we do with FaceSwap, where you can create a program that will actually learn things. You can get into data science, which is basically looking at data and trying to make sense of it all, and having a computer trying to make sense of it all. And there's some web development stuff that you could do with Python that there's jobs for, where you'd be making web pages or interactive web pages. So all of those three jobs are things that people are actively hiring for. Then there's Java. Java is the language that you would use if you're going to make an Android app. You'd use Java. And it's used in large companies. So many, many times there'll be a large company that's looking for software development developers, and they'll be saying, "Oh, you need to have a sound background in Java, or you need to have you need to know what you're doing with Java." Like banks, things like that. A lot of their software they use internally is written in Java. And then finally, there's JavaScript. There's no connection between Java and JavaScript. They're completely different languages. They're unfortunately named very similar, but JavaScript is mainly for web development. Now keep in mind, any of these languages, you could use to do anything. They're just telling the computer, I want you to do this stuff. But they're basically have found their little pockets. So Python's found its pocket that a lot of people who are doing machine learning and data science and some web development have been like, hey, Python's a language we're all going to agree that we're using right now so we can kind of trade code and work on the same code together. Java, Android is like, listen, you got to use Java to program apps for us on Android, and large companies have all agreed we're going to use Java so we can have large amounts of people using the same language to make our software. And then JavaScript, which is different, is mainly for web development, and that's they for any interactive websites that you see, a lot of Facebook stuff is based off of JavaScript. That and there's the spin-off languages on that, but mainly these are the big three. We are doing Python. That's what we're focusing on for this next 6 classes or 3 weeks. We're going to be focusing on Python. Okay, and to do that, we've got to install some stuff onto your computer. So I would like you to go to anaconda.com. Does anybody know what? I know Pedro is probably like, oh, I know what an anaconda. Anaconda is like a big python. It's a big snake. So anaconda.com. Head on over there, and I will meet you there in a second. So everybody, like, go ahead and like open up a new tab and do this with me. So I'm going to go over and we're going to move over to anaconda.com. You should be seeing something like this. You can see it's like, oh, bridge the gap between data science and IT, anaconda.com. Look, machine learning. So this is the type of, this is a suite which uses Python 3 to allow the users to use a bunch of different Python tools to create programs. If you go and click on download, what you're going to end up downloading is you're downloading a bunch of different programs together as like and they all use Python as their backing language. So we're going to just download all the stuff together. I'm going to download it Python 3.7. You don't want 2.7. This is old and dead. People still use it because old software is still made in it. But now we're going to be learning Python 3.7. So download, and you're going to want it to be your 64-bit. That's what we've got. So download, and then it'll automatically notice that you're 64. Download this and hit save, and then just like chill out and wait. I'm going to come back when it's done downloading. All right, I am back. So here, it's downloaded down here. You can click on this if you want to, or you can click on the arrow and say show in folder. It's downloaded into my downloads folder. And I double click on this, and we're going to start installing Anaconda. So again, Anaconda is a suite. When I say suite means many different programs bundled together. It's a suite of programs that all use Python. So what it's going to do is going to install the Python programming language onto your computer. It's going to tell your computer, this is Python, and this is how you use it. And then it's also going to install and this program, and this program, and this program, and this program, and this program. These programs all use Python in some way. And the computer's like, well, I know Python because you already installed it, right? Because it's all got installed together. And you can use these different programs. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to say next. Say agree. And then here's the big part, just me. If you click all users, it's going to ask you for my password. You don't have my password. So click just me and say next. And then users, 135, this is fine. And then here's another massive, you need to do this. Add Anaconda 3 to my path environment variable. Click on this. It's going to turn red. It's going to be like, whoa, do you know what you're doing? Yes, we know what we're doing. We want to add Anaconda 3 to my path environment variable. And then click install. And this might take a second, so I am going to stop the video and come back when it's done. Okay, we're back. We've installed it. We've installed Anaconda, and let's go ahead and try to open it up. So if I go down here to my little search bar here, little magnifying glass, and I type in ANA, you're going to see Anaconda Navigator right here. If you want, you can drag it and pin it down here, or I think you could right click and say pin to taskbar, and you've got it here, and it'll just stay there forever. So now I can open it up by clicking here, or you could have clicked it up there. So I can click here, and it opens up. And you should get something like this. There might be a little bit, because it's the first time you're opening it, it might ask you some questions. Just agree with it and keep on going. And here's like the suite. Remember I talked about this thing called a suite? Here are all the programs that Anaconda brings onto your computer. And all of these programs are based in Python. So they're all using the Python programming language to do whatever they do, right? So like this is a command prompt. I'm not going to get into each one. I think it's just gonna be a way, it's not worth our time right now. But let's put it this way: these are different. You can actually read what they do. What we're going to be using a lot is this notebook, Jupyter Notebook. So click Launch. And the cool thing about this is that this actually uses your web browser. This is using Chrome to show you things on your computer. So it's using Chrome, but it's showing you things on your computer, and it takes you actually directly to your documents folder. So if I click on my documents folder here, these are all the same. If you see here, I have like what they should be. Interesting. It should be taking you to your documents. Oh, I'm sorry. Not your user folder. My bad. Your user folder, and then inside that you have your documents here. So we want to be putting everything into our documents. So anyhow, if you can get to here, I'm happy. We're good. We can move on from here later. But the goal is getting to here. If you cannot get to here, please reach out to me, email me, type something into Google Classroom, send me a text message, and I can help you out. Okay? So let's just make sure we can get to here. All right, everybody. Good work. I will see you next class.